Nolan and his younger sister Ivy move with their parents into an old farmhouse located in a deserted area outside Salem. Behind the house, there is an old stone well covered, like no one has dared to touch it for years. Ivy, brother, look at this well, it feels like it's trying to talk. Nolan laughs, but as soon as he looks at the well, his smile slowly fades away. In the air coming from the well, he hears a whispering sound, and that voice is calling his name. At night, when everyone is asleep, Nolan has a strange dream. He is falling into the well. It's dark all around and a blurry shadow is pulling him down. He wakes up, and the same voice is echoing in his ears. Nolan, come down. Covered in sweat, Nolan gets up and looks out the window. Someone is standing near the well, perfectly still, not moving, just looking at him. The next day, the old neighbor lady, Mrs. Whitmore, who lives in the nearby house, comes to visit. Mrs. Whitmore, in a slow voice. You people shouldn't have come to this house. Don't touch that well. Luther is there. He's still waiting. Nolan asks who Luther is. Mrs. Whitmore only says, he was a child, but he is not human anymore. In the coming nights, strange events start happening in the house. Drops of water start dripping from the walls in Ivy's room. Nolan's books fly and fall on their own. On the bathroom mirror, someone has written, Nolan, when will you come to me? One night, Nolan goes near the well and finds an old toy there, a wooden horse, very old and rotten. Nolan finds some old newspaper clippings in his books. It says, in 1954, a child named Luther Martin mysteriously drowned in his own well. His body was never found. His mother said the well ate him. Nolan understands that Luther is the same spirit who is now searching for him. One morning, Nolan's mother runs and screams Ivy is missing. The whole house is searched, but nothing is found. Then Nolan hears the voice from the well again. She is with me now, you can't escape. Nolan runs to the well. There he finds Ivy's scarf and a broken piece of that same wooden horse. Nolan is not ready to give up. He decides to go into the well alone. Inside the well is another world, rotten walls, screaming voices, and darkness all around. He reaches deep inside. There's a small room, pictures of children on the walls, burnt candles, and in the middle sits Luther, half burnt, half human and half demon, with red eyes. Inside the well, when Nolan reaches the basement, he sees names scratched into the walls with fingernails, names of children. And under every name, it says, I never went back. Nolan, in a soft voice. Ivy, where are you? He hears a soft sob. Nolan turns and sees Ivy sitting in a corner, shivering. But as soon as he tries to hold her, Ivy's eyes suddenly turn black, and her voice changes. Ivy, in a deep, scary voice. You will stay here too, Nolan, forever. Nolan steps back, and just then, Luther appears from the darkness. His body is human, but his face is melted like wax and blood is flowing from his eyes. Not every ghost is just scary, some are so broken, they only want to be remembered. Luther looks into Nolan's eyes, and the pain of his screaming soul can be heard. Flashback begins. The year 1954. Luther was a quiet child. No one made friends with him. His mother used to hit him every day. One day, in anger, she pushed him into the well. Luther's mother. No one wants you, go die in this well. The child stayed alive in that well for 2 days, but no one came to save him. Luther's soul, still crying. I died, but my screams still echo here. Luther doesn't see humans anymore, only shadows. He wants to pull the soul of anyone who has someone who loves them. Because he never got love. Luther, angrily. Those who got love should die so they know how loneliness feels. Background music becomes terrifying and beats like a heart. Nolan tries to run, but the way is blocked. Luther floats in the air, comes in front of him, and throws Nolan deep into the well. Nolan, unconscious, sees the real soul of his sister, the real Ivy. She is crying. Ivy. Brother, I'm scared, he's eating my memories, I'm forgetting who I am. Nolan, crying. No, Ivy. You're my sister and I'll never lose you. Just then, Nolan remembers something, the song they used to sing together. Nolan closes his eyes and starts singing very slowly. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. The song echoes inside the walls of the well. Ivy's eyes begin to return to normal. But at the same time, Luther's soul starts to suffer. Luther screams, "Stop. Don't remind me of those days, when I was someone's sunshine too." Hundreds of souls trapped in the well, souls who were also hurt like Luther, start to rise. Their faces show sadness, not anger. All of them start moving toward Luther. One soul says, "You can't stop us anymore, we want to be free now." All the souls move toward Luther, and his body turns into black smoke and disappears. Voiceover in a slow, chilling tone. Ghosts don't always live in walls, sometimes, they live inside you. Nolan comes out of the well with Ivy. Everything seems quiet. The police, villagers, and others gather. Ivy is taken away in an ambulance. Doctor, softly to Nolan. Don't worry, Ivy is safe now. But the doctor's eyes turn black for a moment, and he smiles. Thank you, Nolan, for letting me out. Nolan doesn't understand anything. At night, Ivy is lying unconscious in the ICU. Suddenly, a nurse comes running, shaking with fear. Nurse. That girl, she suddenly started screaming, saying someone is eating her memories. Scene change. Hospital CCTV footage. In the footage, a doctor enters the ICU alone, and suddenly his neck twists backward, his eyes turn completely black. He mutters, "Now I'm inside someone else's body and I didn't come alone." Nolan slowly starts to understand Luther's soul is now spreading from one body to another. He is choosing people who once left someone alone. At night, while Nolan is walking through the hospital corridor, suddenly all the lights go out. Voiceover, echoing like a mad whisper. You came up, you let me out, now I will go inside everyone. On the wall, written in blood. Welcome back, Nolan. Well, meaning the pit, and welcome, a play on welcome, and well, the spirit welcoming from the well. The entire hospital has now turned into a maze. Doors are shifting into each other. Every corner looks like the basement of the well. Nolan finds an old tape recorder in one room. It has Luther's real voice from the night his mother pushed him into the well. Voice on the tape. Mom, don't push me, I'm cold, I'm scared. A child's scream from the tape, and then, silence. Tears fall from Nolan's eyes. But then another voice comes from the tape. Now it's your turn, Nolan. Suddenly, Nolan finds himself in front of a mirror. But the mirror isn't showing his real face, it's showing everything he has hidden inside. The day he left Ivy alone. The times he stayed silent when someone needed help. Nolan in the mirror says, "You're no different from me, you leave people too, you ignore their screams too." Running through the hospital corridors, Nolan gets trapped in a locked room. The door shuts by itself. Inside the room, there's an old wooden chair and a mirror where Nolan can see himself. But this time, there are two Nolans in the mirror. One is normal, and the other, covered in black blood, black eyes, smiling. Dark Nolan, from the mirror. I'm not your darkness anymore, I'm your truth now. You can't stop me anymore. The mirror slowly starts melting like black smoke is coming out. Nolan steps back, shaking, but then the voice comes again. Nolan, I'm not separate from you, I'm the one you pushed into the well. Flashback begins. Luther was not killed by his mother. He was playing near the well with his friends when Nolan, who was 11 years old, pushed him. Just because Luther had torn his book. Luther fell down, but he didn't die. He stayed alive for weeks in the well. In the dark, alone, hungry, scared, and above all full of hatred. There, he made a promise. Those who forgot me, I will never forget them. That hospital room now turns into the shape of the well. Wet, moldy walls and every corner echoes with Luther's screams. Nolan's body slowly starts turning black. His breathing becomes fast, heartbeat out of control. A hand starts climbing up his face like something is grabbing him from inside. In horror-style internal voice, Nolan's mind speaks. If I killed him, then who do I ask forgiveness from? If he died because of me, was I ever human? From far away in the ICU, Ivy's voice comes. Nulan. This was the same voice that always pulled Nolan out of fear. Ivy runs in and sits beside Nolan. She holds his hands and starts crying. Ivy, shivering. You fought for me, now fight for yourself too. You promised me you'll never leave me alone, now don't leave yourself either. Emotionally intense moment. The fight between Luther's spirit and Nolan reaches its peak. Now Nolan has only two choices. Either accept his mistake and ask Luther for forgiveness, or let Luther's spirit take over his body completely. Then Nolan falls to the floor and says, trembling, Luther, I was wrong, I was scared, I was just a kid. But you took revenge from the whole world. Now stop, please stop. The room starts shaking, walls begin to crack, the screams grow louder, and then complete silence. The room starts shaking again, but this time, the sounds don't stop. Luther's spirit completely takes over Nolan's body. Ivy screams, no, Nolan. But Nolan's eyes are no longer human. They are black, deep, and filled with water-like darkness. Nolan, now speaking, is Luther's spirit. I'm no longer alone now. This well isn't just mine, I'm its guardian and its justice. Ivy is knocked unconscious, and when she wakes up the next day, the hospital is gone, and Nolan is missing. A rumor spreads in the town that the old Greenwood Psychiatric Hospital collapsed on its own. But some locals say that at exactly 3:13 a.m., an old well still appears in the hospital's field, from where someone softly whispers a name. Now Ivy lives in a new city with her 5-year-old daughter, Zara. One night, Zara wakes up from sleep and looks at the window. And she asks a question. Zara, Mom, someone in the well was calling my name, he said. Come Zara, Nolan is waiting for you. Ivy gets scared, runs to pick up Zara, but as soon as she stands in front of the mirror, her reflection is smiling. Mirror Ivy, in a dark, cracked voice. Now it's your turn, Ivy. After that day, Ivy never let Zara go out alone. But a child's curiosity is stronger than fear. One night, Zara quietly leaves the house and walks into the forest behind the house, to the place where Greenwood Psychiatric Hospital once stood. Now, there is only a pit, a dry well, surrounded by dry grass, burnt soil, and a broken swing. Zara looks down into the well, and someone is softly humming from inside. Ring a ring o roses. Zara, smiling softly. Uncle Nolan. There is no reply from the well, but Zara's shadow is not outside the well. It appears inside it. That same night, Ivy finds an old, worn-out letter under Zara's pillow. It has only 3 words. The well remembers. Ivy starts trembling. She understands that Nolan has returned, but he's no longer Nolan. He is the keeper now. Zara slowly starts to change. She's always talking to someone when she's alone. In her sketchbook, she keeps drawing the same picture. A black well, and standing near it, a tall, blurry figure, with white eyes and a face that can't be clearly seen. One night, Ivy sees Zara standing in front of the mirror. Zara says, Zara, Mom, Uncle Nolan says I'm special, I have to become the new queen of the well. Zara starts dreaming about a throne at the bottom of the well. Not surrounded by water, but by walls made of bones. Zara sits on the throne, and a burnt iron crown slowly lowers onto her head by itself. All around her, spirits kneel down. A voice echoes, Welcome, child, you're the blood of guilt, and the future of fear. In the morning, Ivy walks into Zara's room. Zara is sitting by the window, but when she turns around, her eyes are now fully white, both pupils are gone. Zara, in a slow, doubled voice. I'm not alone anymore, the whole well is inside me now. Now Ivy has only 2 choices. Either go down into the well herself to save Zara, or lose her forever. Ivy had once promised herself never to go near that place again. But now, she returns to the same place. To the dry and abandoned well of Greenwood. Ivy, if I have to save my daughter from this curse, I must find Nolan, I must bring him back. She walks to the well and looks up at the sky one last time. Suddenly, the same old voice comes from the well. Come, Ivy, Nolan is here. Without stopping, without fear, Ivy jumps into the well. As she falls, she doesn't land in water, but into a whirlpool of fog, ash, and memories. All around her are the same spirits. Eyes full of pain, but smiles on their lips. As if they had all been waiting for someone to arrive. And there sitting alone on a rock is Nolan. But he's not human anymore. His eyes are foggy, chains around his hands. And shadows of old souls float around his body. Ivy. Nolan, do you remember me? Nolan, in a soft, broken voice. You came too late. Ivy, I'm not Nolan anymore, I'm only the keeper now, and this well will never let me go. Ivy steps forward, crying. But without you, Zara is incomplete, she looks for you every day. A tear falls from Nolan's eye, and suddenly, the spirits of the well scream loudly. No, he belongs to us now. Ivy stands in the middle of the well. She opens both her palms. If one of us must stay, then take me. Let Zara and Nolan go. Silence falls for a moment. Then, a voice comes from the well. You are a mother, you can bear pain. But can you bear the pain we suffered? Ivy closes her eyes and says, yes, if my daughter can get her father back. Then yes, I can bear every pain. The walls of the well begin to shake. All the spirits vanish with a loud scream. Nolan's chains break. He stands again as a human, emotional, trembling. But Ivy's eyes are now white. And the same spirits return around her. But this time, to protect her. Nolan, crying. Ivy, no. Ivy, with a soft smile. Tell Zara the well will never call her again. Her mother now guards it. The next morning, Zara opens her eyes are normal again. Nolan is with her. He hugs her and together, they step into a new life. Zara. Where is Mom, Dad? Nolan, hiding his tears. She's here right in front of every fear that once called your name. The story hasn't ended. In the Greenwood well, a woman still sits. White eyes, a smile on her lips. And a lullaby in her hand. Sleep now, my child. No fear can ever touch you again. And outside the well, every night, only one voice can be heard. I am a mother. And now, only love guards this place. My name is Dylan Carter, and I had just moved into a quiet old house in Boulder, Colorado. It was supposed to be peaceful. But in the first week, strange things started happening. At night, I heard footsteps in the attic. Heavy ones. But when I checked, nothing. Doors would open slowly by themselves. The lights flickered every time I entered the hallway. And every night at 2:19 a.m., I'd hear a whisper from my bedroom closet. You shouldn't have come here. After 2 sleepless weeks, I couldn't take it anymore. I searched online and found a guy named Marcus Vale, a private paranormal investigator. His website was old school. No phone number. Just an email. But the reviews were intense. Marcus saved my life. Don't ask questions. Just let him help. I sent him an email at midnight. He replied 2 minutes later. I've been waiting. I'll be there tomorrow. 5 p.m. Don't open the attic door until then. How did he know about the attic? Exactly at 5 p.m., Marcus arrived. He wore a dark coat, tall boots, and a long chain with a strange pendant. His eyes were pale gray, almost cloudy, but his voice was calm. Too calm. Your house isn't haunted, he said, stepping inside. It's cursed. He walked to the attic without asking. Did you go up here? He asked. No, I mean, just once. But then it's too late, he said, placing salt on the attic door and mumbling something in Latin. When I asked him what was going on, he looked at me and whispered. You invited it. That night, Marcus started a ritual in the living room. Candles, salt circles, mirrors placed in every corner. Whatever happens, he said, don't leave the circle. I sat inside as he began chanting. Suddenly, the walls began to scream. Not creak, scream, like human voices trapped inside them. Paint peeled off. A picture frame shattered. And then from the mirror in front of me, a face appeared. A woman, her eyes sewn shut, blood dripping from her mouth. I screamed and backed up. But Marcus didn't even flinch. He held out his hand and shouted, show yourself. The mirror shattered. The screaming stopped. But the cold remained. Marcus looked at me. She knows you now. I asked Marcus, who's she? That thing in the mirror. He didn't answer. Instead, he walked to the basement door and touched it. This house wasn't built for the living, he said. That night, he slept sitting up with a book in his lap. I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing whispers from the vents. Around 3 o'clock a.m. I went to the kitchen for water. And saw Marcus standing in front of the basement door, talking to someone. No one was there. He said, "Not yet. He isn't ready." I backed away quietly. The next morning, I demanded answers. Marcus looked tired, pale. "You need to know what happened here," he said. And then, he told me the story of the Hollow Bride. Her name was Margaret Doyles. She lived here in 1953. She was set to be married, but her fiancé left her the night before the wedding. Hung himself in the basement. She went mad. Believed his soul was trapped. She sealed the basement and performed dark rituals to bring him back. But something else came instead. She disappeared. No body ever found. People say she still waits for him. And hates anyone who moves in. I whispered, "Is that what's haunting me?" Marcus didn't answer. Instead, he said, "She isn't haunting you, Dylan, she's choosing you." I was shaken. That night, I tried to find more info about Marcus Vale. I searched his name online. Nothing. No address. No phone number. Then I searched the reviews again. The first one said, "Marcus saved my house in 2011. God rest his soul." The second said, "We called Marcus. He died during the ritual. But the haunting stopped." I checked the last review's date. 2014. I ran into the living room. Marcus was sitting still, eyes closed. I touched his arm. It was ice cold. He opened his eyes and said softly, "You finally know." Marcus sat across from me. His skin looked gray now. His voice softer than ever. "I came here 10 years ago. Same house. Same whispers. Same mirror." He paused. I tried to stop her. But I failed. She took me. I backed away. You're a ghost." He nodded. A lone man with short dark hair in his 30s, standing in front of a burned down Victorian house at night, under stormy skies, holding a flickering lantern. Horror cinematic lighting. Slowly. But I've held on. Because someone needs to end it. He took out a small key and gave it to me. "It's time you saw what's buried down there." I asked, "What's this for?" He looked toward the basement and said, "For the room that shouldn't exist." I walked down to the basement with the key Marcus gave me. The air felt thicker. Every step made the wood groan louder. At the bottom, there was just an old boiler, shelves, and dust. Until I noticed a tiny door, covered with a dirty tarp behind the shelves. It wasn't on the floor plan. I would have noticed it before. I unlocked it with shaking hands. The key clicked and the door opened to a narrow staircase, going even deeper underground. Carved into the stone above the door was a phrase in red. "Love me, or die with me." The stairs led to a circular room. No windows. Just stone walls and melted candles. In the center was a wedding dress. On a mannequin. But it was moving. Breathing. Photos were pinned all over the walls, black and white images of couples, all smiling, all dead-eyed. And in one photo, I saw myself. Standing next to Margaret. Smiling. My arm around her waist. But I had never taken that picture. The dress turned. From behind it stepped a woman with no eyes, no lips, just stitches. "Margaret, you came back to me," she whispered, voice stitched with sorrow and hatred. I froze. She lifted her hand and the candles flared with blue flame. Marcus's voice echoed in my head. "Don't speak. Don't run. Don't believe her." Margaret raised her hand, and instantly I was in a different room. The basement had vanished. Now I stood in a grand cathedral, candle lit, filled with faceless guests. An organ played, though no one sat at the bench. At the altar Marcus stood, wearing a groom's suit. Margaret walked down the aisle in her bloody wedding gown. As she passed me, she turned and whispered, "You promised." The church doors slammed shut. Marcus looked at me and said, "You can take my place." End this. I shouted. What do you mean? But then Margaret turned toward me. You will be mine forever just like the others. She raised her hands, and the guests stood up, all headless. I ran. The guests followed, stumbling, arms out. Marcus called out, "There's only one way to break it, she must be loved," and then left. I didn't understand, but he ran toward her. He grabbed her hands, looked into her stitched face. "I never stopped loving you, Margaret," he said softly. She paused. The stitches on her face trembled. "But I can't stay. I'm letting you go." The church shook violently. Margaret screamed, a horrifying, earth-splitting scream. The walls cracked. The guests vanished into ash. Marcus looked at me. His eyes, now human, warm. "You're free, Dylan. So is she." Then he collapsed. His body shattered into dust and fell onto the altar. I woke up in the basement. Alone. The wedding dress. Gone. No chamber. No door. Just stone. I ran upstairs. Sunlight filled the house. The air felt light. The mirror was whole again. I sat in silence for hours. That night, I walked outside and looked at the stars. Then I heard a soft whisper in the breeze. "Thank you." It wasn't creepy. It was peaceful. I smiled for the first time in weeks. But as I turned to go inside, I saw Marcus's pendant hanging from my doorknob. I kept it. A reminder, I told myself. But 3 nights later it happened again. 2:19 a.m. A whisper from my closet. "You shouldn't have come here." But this time, it wasn't Margaret's voice. It was a child's. I turned on the light. There on the wall, written in crayon, was a message. He lied. Marcus lied. Help me. I froze. My breath caught in my throat. Crayon. On the wall. Bright red letters. I didn't own crayons. I stepped closer. The message looked freshly written, like the crayon had just been dragged across the wall. I turned toward my closet. Slowly opened the door. Inside. Darkness. But on the floor I saw a child's shoe. Tiny. Old. Moldy. And beside it a piece of a photograph. I picked it up. It showed a boy maybe 7 years old standing in front of this very house. The same door. Same porch. Same windows. On the back, written in faded ink. Joshua 1962. Missing. I drove to the local town hall the next morning. I had to know. I asked about any disappearances tied to the house. The old clerk gave me a long look. Then slid a dusty box across the counter. Inside, files, photos, newspaper clippings. 8 missing children, over the span of 60 years. Each lived in the house on Ashwood Lane. Each disappeared without a trace. Each exactly 1 week after their family hired a ghost hunter. And in one file an old photo of paranormal expert Marcus Holloway. Same face. Same pendant. Same man. He had lived in the town for over a century. But he hadn't aged. He never aged. That night, I went back to the basement. Not because I wanted to, but because the whispers came back. The child's voice. Louder. "Don't trust him, he made her." I pulled away the shelves again. The little door was back. But now it wasn't locked. I opened it. Inside wasn't the wedding chamber. It was a small bedroom. A child's bedroom. Broken toys. A wooden train set. A mobile above a rotting crib. And on the wall scratches. Dozens. Like someone tried to claw their way out. In the corner sat a teddy bear, its head twisted backward. Inside its stuffing, I found a second photo. Marcus. Standing with all 8 children. Smiling. The whispers began to echo around the room. Not just one child. All of them. Their voices layered over each other like a broken radio. He said he'd protect us. He said he'd send her away. But he locked us here. He needed her to stay strong. The truth hit me like a punch to the chest. Margaret was powerful, but Marcus had kept her from fading. He'd fed her with pain, guilt, death, using the children. And when he couldn't control her anymore, he posed as the hero. He needed someone else, someone like me, to set her free, so he could vanish with her power. He tricked me. He used me. And now the children were still trapped. I ran from the basement, but as I reached the top stair, the door slammed shut. The lights died. The air turned freezing, and in front of me Joshua appeared. Pale, silent, eyes full of fear. He held out his hand. In it, a torn page from a diary. Margaret's diary. I never wanted to hurt them. He said they were sick. He said they needed my love. But every time I touched them they disappeared. Joshua whispered, she was a mother but he made her a monster. I asked, how do I free you? His eyes glistened. Tell her the truth. Let her remember who she was before him. And with that, he vanished. The door opened. I remembered the mirror upstairs. The one that shattered. I placed Marcus's pendant at its base. Then lit the blue candle that had never gone out. I stood before the cracked glass and whispered. Margaret, you were loved. You were tricked. You were human. The mirror fogged up. A reflection formed, not mine. It was Margaret, but not stitched, not ghostly. She looked whole and crying. I remember now, she whispered. I remember the babies, the songs, the lies. She looked down. Will you help me let them go? I nodded. Only if you let them go, too. She smiled. A real smile. The mirror shattered completely, and a blinding white light filled the room. The light surged through every hallway, every crack in the walls. I could hear its screams echoing from the basement. Children's cries turning into laughter. The house breathing. Outside, the storm that had hung over Ashwood Lane for days finally broke. The clouds parted. Moonlight poured in. I rushed to the basement one last time. The hidden room, the children's prison, was gone. In its place, just a single music box, playing a soft lullaby. And around it 8 small shoes, neatly lined up. One by one, tiny flickers of light rose from the floor and vanished through the ceiling. Free at last. But Margaret didn't rise. She stayed. I turned, and there she was. Margaret, in her wedding dress, but now, soft, glowing. Her face human, no longer stitched. She looked tired, like she had been waiting 100 years to sleep. I never got to be a mother, she whispered. Marcus took that from me. I asked, why didn't you leave? Why stay in the mirror? She smiled sadly. Because he said they needed me. That without me, they'd be lost forever. Her voice cracked. But I see now, it was him who wanted to stay forever. I stepped forward. So go rest, let this house heal. Margaret nodded. Thank you, Dylan. She walked into the light, and disappeared. After that night, the house changed. No whispers. No cold spots. No moving shadows. I stayed for a few more days, waiting, listening. But there was only silence. One morning, I found a letter slipped under the door. Old paper. Cursive handwriting. To the one who saw the truth, thank you. Margaret Holloway. I packed my things and left Ashwood Lane behind. But I took the pendant. Not as a trophy, but as a reminder. Of what happens when grief is twisted by lies. Of what love becomes when someone uses it to control. 6 months later, I saw an online listing. Charming vintage home on Ashwood Lane. Recently renovated. Perfect for families. The photos showed bright rooms, sunny windows, and smiling agents. I stared at it for a long time. Then closed the browser. But later that night, as I lay in bed in my apartment, I heard it. A soft, familiar whisper behind my ear. You freed her. Now free me. I turned around, and saw a boy in my mirror, smiling sadly. It was Joshua. Joshua's face stared at me from inside the mirror. He raised his hand, pressing it against the inside of the glass. And when I blinked, he was gone. In his place, a message appeared on the fogged surface. He's not gone. He moved. My phone lit up on the table. A text. No number. Just words. You brought light into the wrong place. Now the dark wants you. Suddenly, every mirror in my apartment began to vibrate. Then crack. One by one, they exploded. Glass everywhere. A scream rising from each shard like trapped souls released. I ran. But the darkness followed me. I took the pendant, Marcus's pendant, from my drawer. It had begun to burn hot. I dropped it on the floor, where it melted through the wood like acid. And underneath the floorboard, I saw it. A circle of bones, arranged perfectly, tied together with old string and hair. And in the middle, a name carved in blood. Not Marcus, but Marlowe Creed. I grabbed my laptop, searched everything I could. Marlowe Creed was a cultist from the early 1900s. Banished from several towns. Accused of performing rituals on children to preserve his soul. He was said to have died in a house fire on Ashwood Lane. And that house had stood right where Margaret's house was built. Marcus Holloway was just a mask. The real ghost was Marlowe. And he never left. That night, I dreamed of fire. Walls burning. Children crying. Margaret screaming. And in the middle, Marlowe Creed, laughing, his body flaming but untouched. When I woke up, there were burn marks on my arms. Real ones. And worse, my voice had changed. Lower. Slower. My reflection in the kitchen window didn't blink when I did. I was becoming him. He was using me to come back. To finish what he started. And I knew what I had to do. I had to go back. To the ruins of the house on Ashwood Lane. The house was gone. Torn down. Nothing left but a blackened field. But when I stood in the center, I saw it. The burn mark on the ground formed a perfect circle. The same as the one under my floor. I stepped into it, and immediately the sky turned black. Crows circled overhead. The air grew thick. The earth vibrated. And rising from the soil, the children's spirits. All of them. But this time, they looked twisted. Changed. Controlled. Marlowe was using them. Their eyes glowed red. And behind them, a tall, black figure began to rise from the ashes. No face. Only teeth. And the voice, my own voice, boomed across the field. Greater than, you opened the mirror. Now you're the vessel. I collapsed. Fire surged through my veins. I saw memories that weren't mine, rituals, screams, blood. Then a voice spoke inside my head. Not Marlowe's. Joshua's. He offered us forever. We just wanted to be kids. We can help you. But only if you help her. I didn't understand. Who? The one soul he's scared of. The one he couldn't break. Suddenly, I saw her face. Margaret. She wasn't gone. She had hidden a part of herself inside one of the children. She knew Marlowe would return. And she had left behind a key to end him. But the key wasn't a weapon. It was a memory. A song. I stood and began to sing the lullaby Margaret sang to the children, soft, slow. The one from the music box. The one that still echoed in the basement. And as I sang, the children stopped. Their red eyes faded. They began to cry, not out of fear but from remembering. Their hands dropped. Their bodies relaxed. And the black shadow that was Marlowe began to scream. He couldn't feed on love. He couldn't survive forgiveness. The pendant on my chest cracked. And Marlowe was ripped apart by the light coming from inside me. The light Margaret had hidden. In that moment I felt every soul she had protected. They were free. She was free. And I fell to the ground. Alive. Months passed. I moved far away. Built a new life. But the experience never left me. Sometimes I still see shadows. Sometimes I hear a whisper. But they're never angry. Only grateful. The pendant is gone. But I keep one thing on my desk. That broken music box. And every time it plays, I remember that not all horror ends in death. Some horror exists so love can survive. And sometimes the scariest ghost story is just a broken heart looking for peace.